One of the issues that always comes up is how teachers deal with failure. And that always leads to a conversation about redos, retakes, do-overs. And we have to meet that head on. There's this mindset that I have to be real rigid with this in order to teach kids to respect and honor deadlines and whatever else it might be to get them ready for that larger world. But that's actually not very constructive in a lot of places. So let's take a look first at failure, and then we'll see how that kind of moves into the discussion about retakes or do-overs. A lot of times teachers will think that they're doing the right thing by waving from the rim of the pit. We all become these rim wavers. The child has dug a pit for himself. He's really dug himself in. He was irresponsible, whatever it was. And we sit there and we go, so it's cold down there, and there's no way out. It's a little bit lonely. Well, that just stinks. Join us when you can. That'll learn you. And we wag the admonishing finger from afar, as if that will teach. It doesn't. There must be hope. Without hope, you have a much bigger problem than your grading system or differentiated instruction. You have a kid who wants to throw it on the ball and go home. I can't teach if my whole mindset is gotcha, instead of, hey, what do I need to do so you are successful? So one of the things we can do is we can jump in that pit. And we can say, even though it might not be true, we can act like it and qualify for an Academy Award. I've been here before. I know the way out. Come with me. That's actually much more constructive. It speaks to Carol Dweck's notion of growth mindset as opposed to fixed intelligence. I was never good at math. I won't be good at this math. I will never be good at math. I don't have a math gene in my body. Just let me take the test and let me take my F. That's fixed intelligence. Growth mindset is more, you know what, I don't know it now. But with enough effort and the resources, I can come to know it. And to the same level as anybody else who knows it well. That's that growth mindset that we want to cultivate in our classrooms. A lot of teachers hide behind that 50-50 notion. Like, the kid has to meet me halfway. No, after 25 years of teaching, it's much more 60-40. And the one kid who sits in the back of the room and never interacts, 90-10. We don't want it to be, you can get a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. We want it to be, you can get a horse to water, but you can't make it thirsty. It turns out you can. As the old joke goes, hand out salt licks to every single kid. I have to get them to the content and make it so compelling they want to drink from it. I don't leave it to their immaturity. For instance, a kid who says, I don't care if I get an F, school sucks. Pardon the vernacular there, but that happens a lot, either spoken or at least considered. That kid who says that I don't care about the F, school is just terrible, should not be left in charge of his learning and thereby his destiny. But a lot of teachers abdicate their responsibility. We're like editors working with writers. One of the great things we do if we're editing somebody else is save the writer from himself. So I'm going to jump in and get face to face with that immature morphing human. And I'm going to say, no, you're not allowed to give up on yourself. I'm now going to put everything in place so you actually partake in the content and you learn. I won't let his immaturity or lack of development dictate the level of his rise. So failure is not something to demonize. There's a wonderful saying, a wonderful book out there, failure is not an option. NASA scientists use it. Lots of people use it. Business leaders use that phrase. But they do it and they explain what it really means, which is very, very powerful. But if we use that phrase just by itself, it actually becomes a negative. Failure is not only an option, it is preferred. Exposure to consistent success doesn't teach us as much as exposure to failure. In fact, in the top 3 all-time best teaching strategies, recovering from a blind alley, a stumble, actually teaches more than just walking normally through it and never falling. We want to make it actually okay to fail, but then to recover from it. And if that means we do this, it means that zeros are fine, Fs are fine, as long as they're recoverable in full. Now that begs the question, what about retakes and do-overs? Do I count them a lot? Do I not? What's up with that? Well, it turns out if you look at a lot of the instructional models and research out there, we have to do things over and over again. I know some studies suggest 24 times before we can get to even 80% proficiency. Well, that's important. I get that. That's fine. But how do people become really, really proficient? By doing things over and over again, But our classrooms don't allow for that because we have this curriculum overload. We have to get through this over and over. But try to imagine, I've got time to do 24 persuasive essays, 24 labs on ions to teach you about ions. We don't have time to do that. So we think we're teaching them deadlines and responsibility by actually doing something that is not sound instruction. That's not good. So from time to time, as time and resources allow, we need to open ourselves up to redoing things. So think about it. LSATs, MCATs, praxis exam for teachers in the United States, bar exam for lawyers, CPA exams for accountants, driver's license tests, auto mechanic certification exam, pilot's license tests are all allowed to be redone over and over and over again for full credit. High stakes, fully reflective of the larger responsible world kids will one day enter. They're allowed to be done for full credit over and over again. How pompous is it for a classroom teacher to say, my quiz, this paper, this test, this homework is so indicative of the larger world of responsibility that I'm trying to teach you, and so high stakes, it can't possibly be redone. You don't have a pedagogical leg to stand on. One time I came up behind one of my students who was trash talking me. He was very frustrated with me. And his classmates saw me coming up behind him. His eyes got really big because there's no time to warn his classmate friend that I was coming up, particularly since I was walking up behind him doing this. And I stood behind that student of mine and I listened to him say this, man, Mr. Wormeli makes you do it over and over again until you learn it. It sucks. For me, touchdown. I'll grab it. In fact, I find it a bit of a cop-out. It's a weak teacher who doesn't allow redos and do-overs because you're not teaching to make sure he learns it. You're teaching to make sure he learns it on the conveyor belt. You're 11, you learn this. You're 12, you learn this. You're hiding behind the factory model of schooling. If you teach something to kids and they don't learn it, it's like a 0 or a D or an F, and you say there's no chance to recover, you said 3 things that are unacceptable to a highly accomplished professional. You said, first, hey, this assignment had absolutely no educational value. Yet I assigned it to you anyway, but it was totally skippable. That's not cool. You're assigning busy work, you bring shame on the whole profession when you do that. If it's worth assigning, it's worth getting done because it matters. It transforms a student from where he was prior to if he had not done it at all. Second, you said, hey, you didn't do all this work? Nah, just take the 0. You don't have to do it. How does that teach consequence and accountability? The consequence in my class for not doing your work is doing your work. I will haunt your nightmares. And the third one is the most heinous. You've just said, it's okay if you don't learn this. That's beyond most teachers' pay grade. Only a state, a province, a school board gets to decide what the curriculum is, not the classroom teacher. I need to make sure that I teach in whatever way possible you become successful, not just to say, here's the curriculum, and now let me document your deficiencies with it. That's not teaching, and we should live up to the promise of all that teaching can be.